Hey Ping Zero followers, Havoc here. Of course we're at Ping Zero HQ and we're about ready to unbox a brand new Xbox One X. But before we do that, I want to go through the history of Xbox. Man, like it's been 16 years since the original Xbox to the Xbox One X. So let's see some of the things that have happened over those 16 years to get us to this point here, and then we're going to unbox it. All right. So the original Xbox came out in November of 2001 in that deep green that looks like a black. And what is even more awesome is the Project Scorpio version of the Xbox One X is going to come in the same color. I've got mine on pre-order. I was one of the lucky few. Can't wait to get it. I'll do a side-by-side, a whole bunch of photos. But yeah, so what was so different about this console to other consoles on the market at the same time? Well, man, it was the first one to actually have a network port built in. Yes, it was actually built in. Unlike other consoles, they were all add-ons. Microsoft realized that was the future of gaming, having us networked and be able to play one another. Of course, that introduced us to that subscription-based service. Love it or loathe it. You know, PC gamers going, we're the master race. We don't have to pay for it to play the game. Yep. Okay. So introduced us to a subscription-based service called Xbox Live. I'm still a fan of it. You know, end of the day, $80 a year, big deal. Absolutely love it. What I also loved about the Xbox One, Xbox original, built-in power supply, wicked. You know, they moved away from that later on, and I'll talk about that a little bit later. And of course, it got modded and introduced us to XBMC or Xbox Media Center, which is still being used today on PCs. Pretty much, speaking of PCs, this was basically just a PC hidden in a case. If once guys worked out how to pull this thing apart, they worked it out as basically just like a PC. Of course, still running. There was no HDMI back in those days, so we're just running on just standard old RCA. So let's fast forward now to 4 years later, and that introduced us to the Xbox 360. So here I've got an Xbox 360. Of course, this is not one of the original cores. This is a Modern Warfare 2 edition. What was different between this and this? Okay, the original Xboxes still did not have HDMI. So we're talking in 2005. So when you're talking 12 years ago, HDMI was still not part of this console. They had a hard drive which was removable on the side. They did not have Wi-Fi either. So you had to be wired. You had to buy the wireless adapter for it. Another $130. So you know. Sony did right there. Their PlayStation 3 had built-in Wi-Fi. Xbox didn't. So Xbox 360 was slightly different. So let's fast forward now another 2 years before, well, middle of 2007 is when they actually started introducing different chipsets, and of course that meant that HDMI became standard. So this is obviously HDMI version because it came later on, obviously during the release of Modern Warfare 2. What they did next was they downsized it. Of course, this introduced us to what we now know as the S model. So here we have an Xbox 360S, obviously slightly smaller. Wi-Fi was built in, yet we still had an external power supply. Admittedly, it was smaller. And so, yeah, they just downsized it. So, you know, it's slightly smaller. You know, it could still be set vertically as well. Both these could be used vertically. It did introduce us to the silly touch button, which I don't like. Yeah, this was a click button. On the original 360 click button, this is a touch button, a sensor button. And of course, they followed that through with in 2013 with the Xbox One. So here's the Xbox One here. The original Xbox, of course, came with a 500 gig hard drive. Now, it looks like a bit of hi-fi equipment. You know why? Because they wanted this to be a entertainment system. You know, it had HDMI in, HDMI out, so it passed through. The whole concept of this was that it could replace your entertainment system. So, you know, you could run Netflix and YouTube, and there's a whole bunch of apps that could be thrown on this. So, you know, it was sort of looking at what a smart TV could do. But you know what? I'm a gamer. I just want to play video games. And so they ended up, you know, I remember when they launched it, I was like, what were you thinking? And I was, you know, these are my opinions, and I was kind of disappointed. You know, don't get me wrong, Forza 5 came, you know, Forza Motorsport 5 was out, so I was, you know, a massive fan of that franchise. Of course, then we had the new Gears, and they were all remastered for this in 1080. So, massive fan of it. So, yeah, originally it seemed like they wanted it to do everything, not just gaming, but just be this one-stop shop. I think they refocused a couple of years later and really started focusing on the gaming. And that's what that's what you buy a game console for, is to play video games. So good on your Xbox team. Like, you're definitely on track now. Of course, earlier this year we got introduced to the Xbox One S. What were the main differences? Okay, they introduced a couple of other things. 4K for a start. So you're not going to game in 4K. You are going to watch Netflix, YouTube, bunch of apps in 4K. Some content is in 4K, but it's not a true 4K console. What they also did by making it smaller, they also done away with the brick. Love it or loathe it. We now got rid of all this, and we now just have a small form factor. What else they did? They put a USB on the front. Fantastic. They also did away with the silly touch button. It's now a clicky button, which I absolutely love. No external power supply. Of course, you've got the 4K content that you can play on it, and HDR, high dynamic range, which you're going to hear a lot about. Obviously, this is the true first 4K capable console in the world. People are going to say, PlayStation did it first. Yeah, whatevs, man. This is 60 frames per second, 4K resolution. I can't wait to unbox it. So that's a quick history about where we've come, November 2001 up to November 2017. So 16 years in a brief 5 minutes. Stay tuned to my next video. We're actually going to unbox this Xbox One X. This is Havoc out.